Welcome to the EMEA Recruitment Podcast in partnership with Operation Smile. We're on a mission to create 100 new smiles through this partnership. You can find out more about the work Operation Smile does around the world on our website. In this episode, we're joined by Terhi Nori, Global Lead for Project Workstream at ABB. She discusses her passion for change management and why it's important to embrace uncertainty in order to grow.
So, hello everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the EMEA Recruitment Podcast in partnership, as ever, with our good friends over at Operation Smile. So today, as Rose has mentioned, we're delighted to welcome Terhi onto the show today. So hopefully you can still hear and see me okay.
Yes, loud and clear. Thanks,
Perfect. That's good. That's good. So really delighted to welcome you onto the show today. We've got a really good list of questions to go through, some of which have come from our network, some from internally here at EMEA. And there's no pressure on you, but from your headline on your LinkedIn profile, I know it reads, you lead with words that ignite excellence inside out. So we're hoping that this podcast is full of words that ignite excellence.
That I can certainly promise, for sure. Yeah.
That's good. So we'll start off with maybe a question just to get you settled into the show. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the podcast is in partnership with Operation Smile. And so I wondered, what was the last thing that made you smile?
As you can see, Paul, I'm already smiling when thinking about it. So actually, I experienced yesterday evening a deep, warm-hearted smile. It was dark. I was driving back home from a grocery store, and I picked up an older, wandering man with dementia in my car. And as such, you might wonder, what is there to smile about? But we spent 45 minutes in my car waiting for some extra support to arrive, and we had a very good discussion, and we enjoyed each other's company. And he was a gentleman, and regardless of the content, what we discussed, the atmosphere and everything between us, was so great that at the end we just smiled. And it was pity for us to leave each other when the extra support was arriving at that time. So it was a moment between us, and it made us both smile. And that was, I think, the beauty of that, really.
I mean, that's really inspiring story to tell. I mean, not many people who've been on the show have had a story to say like that about the last thing that they were smiling about. So, and I guess it shows quite a lot about you, potentially. I mean, there's plenty of people that would have seen that situation and driven by or walked past. So what made you stop and take action on it?
I think it was that I kind of thought that I will get a very good moment. I already knew that helping someone in that kind of a situation, will lead something good. And not just for, getting that feeling for yourself. It's not about it. But being able to support somebody in that moment, because obviously we can understand that somebody with dementia feels a little bit insecure and not always knowing where he is and so forth. So we kind of created our own world a little bit inside the car, and just we were in that moment of feeling calm and feeling that we have something to share with each other. And I really enjoyed that moment. And I received something also from him. He saw me and I saw him in that moment. And I would not change that for anything. And I'm very happy that I experienced that. And I was able to also help him to get back home. Yeah.
That's a great story to start with, and I think it links to something that I was reading about last week, actually, in terms of how important it is to try and find a job which is actually helping people. You know, I think you can have there's a range of elements, 5 key elements of finding the right role, but one of them, which is really important, is being in a position where you are able to help people around you, whether it's your team or colleagues or different
Yes.
parts of the business, because of the feeling that you get or the individual gets from it, but also the, you know, helping other people, it gets passed on, and the feeling generally that it brings into the, you know, into the office. And I think linking what you've just said with the next question I had lined up is quite interesting, because obviously you've had over 20 years at ABB, and logically you would kind of think part of the reason for that longevity and the fact it's worked so well for you and for ABB is because you have at heart this attitude of helping people. I don't know whether that's reading too much into it, but is that part of the reason that you've had the success there?
I would say it is definitely the main reason. Since the company is very large one, there have been so many opportunities to work with so many people along the years. I really like people and working with different people and you know, learning from each other. And in my opinion, leadership is a service. I serve in my position, and it's really like I can't even recall how many people I have met during the years, and it always brings something. Like in the example I gave from yesterday, you meet new people, and I still meet new people, even though I have been in the company for over 20 years, because of course there's an exchange of new people joining and so forth, but also there is an opportunity for change roles. And as part of that, you meet again new people in different functions and so forth. So there's so much richness in that in a company like where I'm in now.
I mean, it's great. It's great to hear, and I think it's something that's inspirational and interesting for the network to hear as well, because, you know, over this 20-year period, there's been so many changes in our lives externally, and I think one of the biggest ones is the impact of technology and the instant gratification that we all have, you know, when we're online and expecting instant responses. But 20 years ago, it wasn't like that, you know, or it was going in that direction, but nowhere near the way it is now, you know. So one of the challenges that I think a lot of people have is sticking with something for a longer period of time, and that includes career, you know. So what benefits do you really feel you've had, you know, maybe staying within the role compared to moving away from ABB, and have you ever had the fear of missing out by not changing?
So it's funny when I'm thinking about fear of missing out. I think we are all experiencing that occasionally. I mean, it's in human nature, you know, always think what else is there. What could I go for? And it's also coming from the natural seeking for change. Even though we are typically resistant for change, we are still seeking for it, and that's also connected to the fear of missing out eventually. But I have to say that during these over 20 years, I can honestly say I haven't had that fear of missing out any opportunities outside the company. Maybe because I also believe that if you really want to have any opportunities, you open yourself to them and you seek for them, and you will get them eventually. If you are really going for something, there's nothing stopping you at the end of the day for doing that. However, as you can see, I have still enjoyed my journey, journey in where I am today. So for that reason, yeah, I can honestly say that I have not feared anything, that I haven't missed something, or because we create our own journey, we create our own story, we create what we get eventually. So it's just a matter of choosing the next steps if you want to pursue any opportunities or you want to make a change eventually.
And in there, you mentioned how much you enjoy the change management side of of your roles, and you've enjoyed your time at ABB doing these projects. This is one of the other 5 key elements of having a great position, as well as helping people. Enjoying the job that you're doing is a big part of it as well. So what is it about change management that you enjoy so much?
So first of all, I like organizing. So I like mess. And typically change comes with the mess. So it creates typically a little bit, let's say if we put it in a dramatic form, it creates a little bit even chaos sometimes if we go to the extreme in terms of a change. But the mess is great. You can start organizing your thoughts. You can use your creativity. You can start putting the bits and pieces together. You can solve puzzles. Who wouldn't like that at the end of the day? There's so much in there. I mean, there are new things coming on board as a result of the, typically, there could be changes that are more forced, and there are changes which are more that we know we have to go for, and we gradually initiate and go for them. Of course, there's a difference between those two, but still the elements are the same. It will, and I truly love the explosion of that the change makes in us, because I think something very valuable is coming out of us, and we start to create new. That's the thing. We start to create new, and for me that's exciting. I know they are, maybe not everybody is for that one, but I enjoy new because that brings some kind of an excitement, and again something as a kind of, it's a snowball effect eventually that change is creating.
I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, within that, there's a few things you mentioned earlier on about the majority of people do have a fear of change, but I think you're probably in the minority of people who really are excited by change and embrace it, and you enjoy the mess, the chaos, the creativity, everything it brings. But I guess one of the reasons people are reluctant to change is the uncertainty around it. So do you have a mechanism to cope with the uncertainty that change brings?
Yeah, I have. I think for many years I have built up that, if you can call it a skill, to manage that fear of uncertainty. Don't get me wrong, that I would be like a master of that fear in any. I mean, we are all humans, so it comes every time. There's this nagging, fear entering, and all the scenarios. Every one of us knows this. The scenarios we build as a consequence in our heads. What is the worst thing that can happen? Or all of this is very typical, and it comes to me as well. So there's no way out of it for anybody. But then it's a question of basically how to manage your mind, in my opinion. So it's and not observing is a better word. Observing your own mind. We can never manage it. The fear will always pop up when we go to the unknown. But it's a matter of how do we observe, and who, it's just me now, being afraid of the change, and building scenarios that are not necessarily true as such. So yes, that's the. It's just the. It's almost like a self-talk that you go through, and then of course certain choices, decisions needs to be made, but it's there's a way forward as long as you do a little bit of a self-talk to yourself and understand that this is something I basically create in my own mind based on the past experiences, based on the learnings and everything that has happened before, but it doesn't create the new. It has nothing to do with the new. Yes, exactly. So it's this I have basically learned this technique, if you can call it like that, along the years, and still every time the fear comes, so we can never get rid of it. It's just a way of kind of understanding how to observe it and how to get over it, and then embrace the potential changes that are coming, and take it as it comes. Take it as it comes. There's always a solution, as I say, also in my work. There's always a solution for everything eventually.
And I think that's a great way of looking at things. And I think a lot of what you've mentioned there is, I suppose it could almost be summarized in terms of there is elements of control that you have both over what is going on, but also your mental side of things as well. And I think the reason that's quite interesting is that there's been studies done in the last few years around stress, and there was an article I was reading that was saying, well, actually, stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually how you deal with it. And you tend to find the people who are in senior roles where there's a lot of change and leading up to CEOs or presidents, for example, these are hugely pressured, stressful jobs, but they just accept they have the elements of control. So they can control what is happening to a large degree, and it's more the control element rather than the stress side of it. And that's why they're generally happier and they enjoy their roles more. So they just know what they can control, what they can't control, and try not to let the things they can't control overpower the emotions, which it feels like that's where you're at now in your career, really.
That is true, and also the being imperfect. Exactly. Almost like this 80-20 rule going on. You cannot control everything, and also trusting the teamwork, trusting a little bit that side of things, that as I said, there's always a solution for everything. Maybe it's not coming in that red burning moment, but it's going to come as part of just going for it and seeking for how to get to the next step and so forth, even in that chaos and mess that I described and so forth. But it's really not trying to be perfect, but go with the imperfectness of that for that particular challenge or whatever you are facing. Definitely.
And I think that must be one of the key characteristics of anybody who's successful in change, because I think if you're looking for the perfect scenario, the perfect answer, it very rarely happens. And I think you as you say, you have to, the 80-20 rule is a good one always to look at, because I think in some cases, the more information you have, the more people procrastinate on the situation. And sometimes it's better to have less information, start with the changes, and then learn as you're going along. And I think you need all these kinds of personality profiles in the business, but certainly in career and change, I think you have to. Yeah, you have to embrace that 80-20 rule, as you mentioned. I think that's a good way of looking at it.
And I think one of the things that came in what you said was this: all sorts of scenarios are coming in, and the complexity increases, is one of the things that I have witnessed. And then the most simple thing is to bring simplicity, bring it to the level of really taking everything out of it and looking at it at the most simple level, the challenge that you are facing. Because yes, sometimes we go into gathering more and more problems on top of the challenge. I was seeing more and more problems on top of the challenge, whereas we need to kind of take it into pieces and make it as simple as possible puzzle to solve at the end of the day. Yeah.
I mean, where does this passion for change come from for you?
I think it comes from my overall life experience. So I have had many changes in my life, and I kind of noticed that it's actually change is a good thing. So it has developed me. I have developed myself as part of it, and I have learned that maybe at the beginning of any change, it was, yes, indeed, scary. It was unknown. You couldn't see the trees in the forest at all. But eventually, once you face any change and any potential fear, there's always more coming as a result. You will grow as a consequence. And after experiencing so many changes, I actually learned to love it. I'm almost like missing it. That something comes and so forth, and new developments come, overall, and we can, as part of it, really use our intelligence again and think of, develop new things, at work and in general. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned intelligence there and change, and one of the questions I was going to ask you today was around the future of business and the future of roles within companies related to the impact of business intelligence, of data and technology, and it's something that is going to, well, it's currently already changing things, but I think in the next 5-10 years the impact is going to be huge. So I always like to ask people in your position, what your thoughts are on the future of your roles and business, given the impacts of the technology is having and going to have.
The famous artificial intelligence entering the scene. Exactly. One of the scary scenarios in some respects. I mean, let's face it. Already the name of it brings the clue. So basically, it's artificial. So what are we? We are authentic. So I think we complement each other. If you can, artificial intelligence is not necessarily a person, but I can say like we complement each other. So we have had different kinds of evolutions, in, agricultural, industrial, information age. And guess what? We have come through all of them. So why not this change again? And one of the things I have noticed is that we are ready to call mobile phones smart. But have you heard that word used for ourselves often? Yes. And I think we are smart. We are, and what all of this, development allows us to do is basically reduce the information overflow. As an example, it reduces everything which is basically putting us under too much, in order for us to really go up and use our own human intelligence, our creativity at the end of the day. So that's why I say it complements, because it allows us more and more to use our intelligence really, and develop things that, I mean, let's face it, we are humans, we have emotions on top of that's the authenticity at the end of the day. So we can design things that are not possible for artificial intelligence, technology, and so forth. So I think it's a new beginning, even new era, as a in a sense. And it also obviously, Paul, when I'm looking at it, it will change leadership in a sense, because obviously this will be something where you really need to embrace your own intelligence, your creativity. You are free to bring it out and develop new things. So it's always, when there are bigger changes like this going on, there is this fear, obviously, and also I would say that the best way to approach is curiosity. So many people might say critical, yes, but I see a little bit of a judgment already in that word. So I would really be curious to understand how we can use the best of it. Because let's face it, it wasn't born out of nowhere. I believe we had a little bit to do with that artificial intelligence rising from somewhere, if you understand what I mean. So it's not like it's coming from out of the blue.
Yeah.
So it's like it's generated from our side. So if we really were the ones generating that one, imagine what we can do otherwise. So exactly. So I believe that it's time to consider, appreciate ourselves as well, to be smart and use that development in digitalization or artificial intelligence to free us to use it even more.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear your views on this, and I think as I say, people that have seen this impact to their roles already, and you touched on the fact that it's the leadership is changing the leadership style that's needed to get the most out of people, and I think it links into the story you told at the start of the podcast as well, because I think if you look at the COVID period, that phase of time, people have never, large numbers of people have never felt as lonely or isolated as they have as they did during COVID, despite the fact that we could get on video. We had all this technology. People were missing that interaction. And I think, as leaders, helping each other, as you mentioned at the very start of the show, and being strong, being curious, being authentic, all these key things you mentioned through the conversation. If you're able to bring that as a leader, bring the team together, and that's something at the moment, at least, artificial intelligence we can't do. Maybe it won't be able to do in the future. Have that human nature to it is something that is the differentiator between it.
Exactly.
And I think one of the things that I wanted to ask you as well is linked more to a different subject. So diversity. I mean, it's been a very ongoing discussion for a decent period of time now. A lot of companies and individuals talking about their diversity and inclusion ratios, especially on the gender side of things. And I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you a bit about this, because obviously the industry you're in is very much a male-led industry, especially historically it has been, and the discipline that you're in as well is more male-led than female, and yet you've had a very long and successful career. So I was wondering what kind of advice you might give to females listening to this show who see and hear what you say and get really excited about the career path and think, I'd love to do this. what's the best way to either get into this area or to progress their career if they're in a similar situation, but they're having maybe some issues internally with the gender side of things. I mean, yeah, so I thought I'd ask your advice to give the network some help on that side, really.
I have never really thought about the gender, you know. So basically, and what I have personally followed is being just me. So being, regardless of my gender, being authentically me and creating my own story as part of the career path. So going for that one and not. It's almost like I think you can see when you are seeing me that it has never really occurred to me to think it like that. So I have always thought equally in that sense. So I have just at the beginning of the career, and it's almost. Many people don't even believe me today when I say I was, 23 years ago when I started, I was very shy. And it's difficult to believe now, but yeah, I was really shy. And the way I proceeded was, and my motto was at that time, that confidence comes first, skills will follow. I had to kind of build up on that one. And I wish I had known that already then when I progressed along the years, how much it really impacted my career path, that I took that to guide me forward. I would have been bolder if I had known it had so much significance.
I mean, how did you
I really didn't think of, through what is around me as I really, first of all, I enjoy the diversity and everything that we are, having. That's for sure. But I didn't think of, I just, build up what is that for what I see is who I am and what I want to go for in the future. And it almost feels like afterwards that it just unfolded along the way. Or every step just unfolded because I followed that genuine way of just proceeding and not going forward with any textbook of how to be. And first of all, I was an expert, obviously, in the company, and then later on became a leader. So there wasn't any manual that I followed or anything. I just followed, and this is also very great to acknowledge that I have been able to be exactly that who I am and bring in my own personality and so forth in the company. So it's really a privilege as such to be able to do that. Yeah.
No, I really like that advice, saying being true to yourself, being unique. You're the only one of you in the whole world, which is actually, when you think about it, quite a scary thought. All the millions and millions of people in the world, there's only one of you, and and I think it's also, say, building confidence, and then the skills will follow. I like that approach to things as well, because I think the confidence comes from the fact you're happy with who you are as well. If you're happy with who you are and you're happy that you are unique in yourself, then the confidence gradually builds over time. And I think it's linked to things we were talking about earlier. So many people try and emulate what successful people are doing, or try to copy an idea, but if you look at all the really well-known successful people like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all the Elon Musk, they all have these very unique and unusual ideas, but if you try to copy them, then you're you know, you're not being true to yourself. You always need to have your own idea and go with it, and then you might be the next you know, Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, but not if you try and copy what they've already done. But it's the same with, you know, YouTube, social media. If you try to copy other people,
Yes.
and all their you know, selfies and whatever, then yeah, you just become a clone of everybody else, you know. So I like that advice, you know, just being. But that must have been tough, though. I mean, there must have been times when that was challenged. I mean, I can think it's great advice, and I think it's good thing to follow. But I guess over the years, especially the early years when you were building the confidence, there must have been times that was tough to stay true to.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes with everything, not just with work. It goes with everything. You have these moments of self-doubt. Should I do it differently? Should I be more something else? You know, should I be exactly based on a certain, we think what is the standard, which is, by the way, not existing. But it's usually, again, we come to the self-talk, and thinking that there's a one way to do it or a couple of ways to do it and so forth. But at the end of the day, I mean, if we cannot be ourselves, and of course we have roles, and it's not like we are going there like taking out everything who we are, and telling everything, you know, about our thoughts and so forth. That is not what I'm meaning. But what I'm meaning is that whatever role you have, to be as true to, you know, to be true to yourself in any case, with the respect towards other people, obviously, you know, with their own authenticity. So it's respect and being yourself that are the combination at the end of the day. So what is true for us is not necessarily the case for the others, but we need to respect each other in that sense that everybody is different, and we get our own names eventually on the wall together with Steve Jobs or something else. It's funny that Steve is always the example, but that only brings up the example of being unique. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think the thing that's, you know, these people we're talking about, and yourself having in common, we talked about the leadership side of things, and I guess we can't really have a podcast on the recruitment company websites without yeah, talking to you about recruitment in some shape or form, and leadership, and it obviously brings around the discussion of people, and you know, obviously a big part of that is being surrounded by great people who make a great team, and you can work closely with. So because of this approach to work and life that you have, when you're recruiting people and growing people, how much does that your view on this come into the recruitment process? Because I suppose when you're interviewing people, you're wanting people to be unique, true to themselves, but then obviously you know, that means that your leadership style has to be quite hands-on to keep them, you know, along that track, if that's the case for everybody you try to bring in. So I was wondering how you go about having an efficient recruitment process yourself, really.
So the way I'm approaching, obviously, you know, even though it's also about having people who are unique and so forth, obviously it's also about having people who have certain skills that are required for the positions that we have open. So it's a combination of both, I would say, and what I personally like is that there are, you know, from this unique side, there are different type of people inside the team, but of course it's also important that, you know, we look at what are the different skills and knowledge base that we need, first of all, and how how it's almost like when you are having a bigger team that you build up a team where different skills, knowledge, experience complement one another. So, for example, from a uniqueness point of view, different people are very good with stakeholder management. The others have their strength and other areas like project management and so forth. So it's almost like a state of art of building up a team where everybody complements each other. They can learn from each other as a consequence, because basically you are bringing different kinds of knowledge, skills, experience, and so forth inside the team. So being unique is I would say, something that comes along in any case, because typically, however you are unique, you have different interest areas, different motivations, different skill set, and so forth. So it's almost like how to say, exciting to go into a recruitment process to kind of find such ones that really can also bring in something more to the team and develop the team and create that joint team development, if you know what I mean. It's because one of the elements we learn from each other, and I really want to also say I have a very wonderful team at the moment, with different kind of unique people and with their own unique skill set and experiences and so forth, and that's very rich inside the team. It brings in a lot, particularly in the project environment where we are in. So whatever comes, there's a firm ground to deal with and move along as a result. So I think that's very important, that to understand how we can complement each other and work as a team and bring something new and also develop as a whole, I would say. And of course, it's in the recruitment process itself. It's then important as part of the description and part of what we are seeking for, to be able to really specify what is there to offer, and so forth, and that I think it's important part of it.
No, and it is. I think the culture of ABB as well is such that it helps with this process and the way that you do bring people in. I mean, whether it's ABB in the Nordics or Eastern Western Europe. I mean, from the experience I've had, working with ABB, there's a lot of people in the business who've been there for a good length of time, like yourself.
Yes.
There's a good number of people who've done that, but also people who've joined in the last 5 or 6 years have also seen that growth. So it's not just a legacy culture. This is something that's going on now, and yeah, I think generally the company does bring in very very good people aligned to the culture, and they stay within the business largely for far higher than the market, than the industry average, which is great to see.
Yeah, and there's a very very great diversity inside the company, which I really enjoy as well. So it is indeed well established process from that angle.
So I thought I've got the last question coming, and I thought I'd ask quite an unusual one, maybe. We've talked a lot about what you like about change, or what you love about change and enjoy about it. But I thought I'd ask you: is there anything in your life that you definitely wouldn't change? You know, so we've talked about all these things about how change is great. You love and enjoy it so much, and I thought there's got to be some things in your life that you wouldn't ever want to change. And I thought I'd try and end with that question to challenge that side of things.
Exactly. Now here comes the challenge, Paul. Then, if I'm so change driven, so what I wouldn't like to change, it's very it is a difficult question for me, actually. I think it's more like where I sense I would be uncomfortable of, like I would need to stretch a little bit. And one of the things that I find myself very protective, I think it comes from, from that, not noticing that, is that the time management I'm having in my hands. So I really love to design my time the way I'm designing it. So it's funny, but there are these challenges sometimes as wake up at 5 and designed your mornings differently or something like that. And I've no. No.
So are you somebody who goes for are you someone who goes for a jog at first thing in the morning?
No. So it's funny. I'm in that area, and it's a very particular area, but I find it very difficult to make that kind of a challenge for myself, that I wake up 5 in the morning, and by the way, I have tried it once. Only once.
Well, at least you gave it a try, right? That's the main thing.
Because I have a principle that at least I try once. So, but it's just that, in some things I really like to keep I like the flexibility, and certain flexibility I like. So if I'm put into a time slot entirely, that would be difficult, definitely, as a change. Yeah.
So it's the flexibility of your time management is something you wouldn't want to change. Yeah. Okay. But I think this maybe comes back to what we were saying earlier. You have that element of control, so you've got a position that there's a lot of stress around it, a lot going on, but to a certain degree, you're able to control it. So, there's obviously things you can't, but there is an element of control, and that helps with all these other things. So maybe that's the control, being true to yourself, and being in a job that you enjoy. It may be the key things really to take from this, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, it's been great to have you on the show today, Terhi. Really appreciate your time, because as we're aware from everything you've been saying, we know you're very busy at the moment. So to grab 45 minutes with you is really a great honour and a pleasure to have you on the show. I know I've taken a lot from it, but I know our network really will do as well. If the network wants to reach out to you, is LinkedIn the best way to do it?
Absolutely.
Perfect. What we'll do, we'll make sure we add your personal link to the show when it's being published, and then they can reach out to you. And for the meantime, really, thanks again for your time, and enjoy the ever-changing world at ABB.
Thanks a lot, Paul. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.